Grandhide Witch Part 2. That there are burn marks on the bedroom carpet, that toads are discovered in the bathtubs, and that down in the kitchen the cook once found a baby crocodile swimming in his saucepan of soup. My grandmother picked up her cigar and took another puff, inhaling the foul smoke deeply into her lungs. "Where does the Grandhide Witch live when she's at home?" I asked. "Nobody knows," my grandmother said. "If we knew that, then she could be rooted out and destroyed. Witchophiles all over the world have spent their lives trying to discover the secret headquarters of the Grandhide Witch." "What is a witchophile, Grandmamma?" "A person who studies witches and knows a lot about them," my grandmother said. "Are you a witchophile, Grandmamma?" "I am a retired witchophile," she said. "I am too old to be active any longer. When I was younger, I travelled all over the globe trying to track down the Grandhide Witch. I never came even close to succeeding." "Is she rich?" I asked. "She's rolling in it," my grandmother said, "simply rolling in money. Rumour has it that there is a machine in her headquarters which is exactly like the machine that the government use to print the banknotes you and I use. After all, banknotes are only bits of paper with special designs and pictures on them. Anyone can make them who has the right machine and the right paper. My guess is that the Grandhide Witch makes all the money she wants and she dishes it out to the witches everywhere." "What about foreign money?" I asked. "Those machines can make Chinese money if you want them to," my grandmother said. "It's only a question of pressing the right button." "But Grandmamma," I said, "if nobody has ever seen the Grandhide Witch, how can you be so sure that she exists?" The next morning we sailed for England, and soon I was back in the old family house in Kent, but this time with only my grandmother to look after me. Then the Easter term began, and every weekday I went to school, and everything seemed to have gone back to normal again. Now at the bottom of our garden there was an enormous conker tree, and high up in its branches Timmy, who's my best friend, and I had started to build a magnificent tree house. We were able to work on it only at the weekends, but we were getting along fine. We had begun with the floor, which we built by laying wide planks between two quite far apart branches and then nailing them down. Within a month we had finished the floor. Then we constructed a wooden railing around the floor, and that left only the roof to be built. The roof was the difficult bit. One Saturday afternoon, when Timmy was in bed with flu, I decided to make a start on the roof all by myself. It was lovely being high up there in that conker tree, all alone, with the pale young leaves coming out everywhere around me. It was like being in a big green cave, and the height made it extra exciting. My grandmother had told me that if I fell I would break a leg, and every time I looked down I got a tingle along my spine. I worked away, nailing the first plank on the roof. Then suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a woman standing immediately below me. She was looking up at me and smiling in the most peculiar way. When most people smile, their lips go out sideways. This woman's lips went upwards and downwards, showing all her front teeth and gums. The gums were like raw meat. It is always a shock to discover that you are being watched when you think you are alone. And what was this strange woman doing in our garden anyway? I noticed that she was wearing a small black hat, and she had black gloves on her hands, and the gloves came nearly up to her elbows. Gloves. She was wearing gloves. I froze all over. "I have a present for you," she said, still staring at me, still smiling, still showing her teeth and gums. I didn't answer. "Come down out of that tree, little boy," she said, "and I shall give you the most exciting present you've ever had." Her voice had a curious rasping quality. It made a sort of metallic sound, as though her throat was full of drawing pins. Without taking her eyes from my face, she very slowly put one of those gloved hands into her purse and drew out a small green snake. She held it up for me to see. "It's time," she said. The snake began to coil itself around her forearm. It was a brilliant green. "If you come down here, I shall give him to you," she said. "Oh, Grandmamma," I thought, "come and help me." Then I panicked. I dropped the hammer and I shot up that enormous tree like a monkey. I didn't stop until I was high as I could possibly go, and there I stayed, quivering with fear. I couldn't see the woman now. There were layers and layers of leaves between me and her. I stayed up there for hours, and I kept very still. It began to grow dark. At last I heard my grandmother calling my name. "I'm up here," I shouted back. "Come down at once," she called out. "It's past your supper time." "Grandmamma," I shouted, "has that woman gone?" "What woman?" my grandmother called back. "The woman in the black gloves." There was silence from below. It was the silence of somebody who was just too stunned to speak. "Grandmamma," I shouted again, "has she gone?" "Yes," my grandmother answered at last, "she's gone. I'm here, my darling. I'll look after you. You can come down now." I climbed down. I was trembling. My grandmother enfolded me in her arms. "I've seen a witch," I said. "Come inside," she said. "You'll be all right with me." She led me into the house and gave me a cup of hot cocoa with lots of sugar in it. "Tell me everything," she said. I told her. By the time I had finished, it was my grandmother who was trembling. Her face was ashy grey, and I saw her glance down at that hand of hers that didn't have a thumb. "You know what this means," she said. "It means that there is one of them in our district. From now on, I am not letting you walk alone to school." "Do you think she could be after me especially?" I asked. "No," she said. "I doubt that. One child is as good as any other to those creatures." It is hardly surprising that after that I became a very witch-conscious little boy. If I had happened to be alone on the road and saw a woman approaching me who was wearing gloves, I would quickly skip across to the other side. And as the weather remained pretty cold during the whole of that month, nearly everybody was wearing gloves. Curiously enough, though, I never saw the woman with the green snake again. That was my first witch, but it wasn't my last. That's the end. The next chapter is called Summer Holidays. Bye.